I returned to my grandfather's peaceful lake cabin expecting quiet and memories, but instead, I was greeted by the deafening roar of bulldozers and the cold stare of a woman I'd never met. She stood there, arms crossed, barking orders like a dictator. "Tear it down! This is HOA property now." Confused and furious, I demanded answers. That's when she smirked and said, "You're trespassing. We sold this place. You should have responded to our notices." But I never received a single letter. I wasn't even part of her HOA. Before I could explain, the police showed up, called by her, of course, and ordered me off the land that's been in my family for generations. She looked at me like I was nothing and sneered, "People like you don't belong here." What Karen didn't know is, I don't take threats lightly. And this time, she picked the wrong man to cross. What happened next changed everything. And by the end, Karen would regret ever stepping foot on my land. Keep watching, because justice? It was just getting started. That lake cabin wasn't just some weekend getaway, it was the last piece of my family's legacy. My grandfather, a proud war veteran, built it with his bare hands after returning from World War II. Every summer, I'd visit him there, fishing on the lake, listening to his stories, and promising him I'd always take care of the place. When he passed, he left it to me in his will, along with a letter. "This cabin is yours now. Never let anyone take it from you." I honored that promise until Karen showed up. While I was away handling funeral arrangements for my father, Karen, the self-declared president of the Lakeside HOA, claimed the cabin had been abandoned. Without my knowledge, she filed fake complaints, forged letters saying I'd been notified, and sold the cabin at a discount to her cousin's real estate company. Her goal? Flip it for profit and expand her control over the entire lakeside. But here's the twist. My land wasn't even inside her HOA's boundaries. Karen overstepped, thinking I was just another quiet nobody who'd walk away. She didn't know I had something stronger than money or influence. I had the truth, the law, and a promise to keep. So while Karen smiled for her HOA meetings and flaunted her new property, I quietly began gathering evidence. She thought it was over. But I was just getting started. Karen's arrogance knew no bounds. The very next day, I returned to find a massive HOA property, "No trespassing" sign nailed to the cabin door. She had the locks changed, my family's heirlooms tossed into a dumpster, and even had the audacity to put up a for sale sign on the front lawn. When I confronted her, she didn't even flinch. "You're lucky I don't have you arrested," she hissed, sipping her overpriced coffee. "You ignored our notices for months. You abandoned the property, and HOA law allows us to seize it." I tried to explain, calmly, that my cabin wasn't even part of her HOA, that I never received any letters, and that the land was legally mine. But she cut me off with a mocking laugh. "It's not your land anymore. This is Lakeside now, and I run Lakeside." The next blow came fast. That evening, I was served a trespassing notice, hand-delivered by a smirking sheriff deputy who clearly didn't know the full story. Karen had filed a fake ownership deed, and I was now labeled a squatter on my own property. Then she began a smear campaign, sending out letters to HOA members warning them about a dangerous man threatening the community. She posted online that I was mentally unstable, possibly a veteran with PTSD, and advised neighbors to call the police if they saw me near the lake. It didn't stop there. She blocked access to the lake dock, claimed it was now private HOA property, and even cut down a 100-year-old oak tree my grandfather had planted, saying it was a safety risk. With every move, she made it clear. She wanted me gone, for good. But behind the scenes, I wasn't sitting idle. I was quietly collecting every lie, every forged document, and every illegal move she made. Because Karen may have had power in that neighborhood, but I had something far more dangerous to her: the truth and patience. And I was going to use both, ruthlessly. Karen thought I'd crumble under pressure, but instead, I started digging, and what I found was explosive. Late one night, I went through my grandfather's safe, tucked inside a hidden compartment beneath the cabin floorboard. Inside, I found the original deed, clearly showing the cabin's land was never under HOA jurisdiction. Even better? My grandfather had recorded a property exemption with the county, specifically protecting the land from any future HOA claims. That document alone was enough to destroy Karen's entire argument, but I wasn't stopping there. I set up hidden cameras around the property, and within days, Karen gave me what I needed. She showed up with a shady contractor, laughing as she admitted she forged the notices and filed false HOA boundaries. "What's he gonna do?" she sneered. "That loser doesn't have the money to fight me." Little did she know, I wasn't alone. I called in a favor from an old friend, a retired county judge, who had known my grandfather and respected his legacy. Once I showed him the forged documents and the hidden camera footage, he was furious. Together, we took the evidence to a local news station hungry for a scandal. But the final piece of the puzzle was the legal trap. I filed a temporary restraining order on the HOA, preventing them from selling or altering the property further. Then I filed a lawsuit for fraud, harassment, and property damage, naming Karen personally. The court date was set. The media picked up the story, and as cameras began to circle her pristine neighborhood, Karen's carefully constructed empire of lies started to crack. HOA members began asking questions. Neighbors turned on her. And Karen? For the first time, she realized she wasn't in control anymore. I wasn't just defending my land, I was coming for everything she'd built through deceit. And I was going to tear it all down legally, publicly, and without mercy. The courtroom was packed. Neighbors, reporters, HOA board members, and even county officials sat in tense silence as the hearing began. Karen walked in with her usual arrogance, dressed to impress, her lawyer trailing behind. She still believed this was a minor property dispute, something she could spin or settle with a smug smile. But she wasn't ready for what was coming. My lawyer, a sharp-tongued woman who had taken Karen's type down before, presented the forged notices first, each one filled with typos and an HOA seal that didn't match the official design. Then came the bombshell. Footage of Karen admitting on camera that she'd never legally notified me, laughing about how easy it was to take over abandoned property. The room gasped. Karen's face turned pale. Her lawyer asked for a recess. Denied. Next, we unveiled county maps, proving the cabin land was never within HOA boundaries, followed by the original exemption deed, signed and notarized decades ago. Karen tried to interrupt, claiming ignorance, clerical error, good faith. The judge shut her down. And then, the final blow, bank records showing Karen had already accepted a $200,000 advance from her cousin's real estate company for the illegal sale of my cabin. The judge's voice was like thunder. You have not only committed fraud and trespass, you abused your power as HOA president and violated state property laws. This court awards full restoration of property, all legal fees, and punitive damages to the plaintiff. Karen stammered, pleading, "This is a misunderstanding. I didn't mean," but the judge wasn't done. He ordered an investigation into the entire HOA's finances, and deputies escorted Karen out as the cameras rolled. Outside, reporters swarmed, and neighbors who once followed Karen's every word now turned their backs on her. Some apologized to me, realizing they had enabled a tyrant. But I didn't want revenge, I wanted peace. I returned to the cabin, now legally mine again, and began restoring it. As I scattered a handful of my grandfather's ashes into the lake, I whispered, "It's safe now." I kept my promise. Karen lost everything, her title, her reputation, and possibly her freedom. And me? I didn't just reclaim my land, I reclaimed justice for every person who's ever been bullied by someone drunk on power. Weeks later, the cabin stood quietly again, the way it was always meant to be, untouched, peaceful, and free from Karen's poison. As I rebuilt the porch railings and repaired the dock, neighbors began stopping by, not to argue this time, but to thank me. Turns out, Karen had bullied them too, threatening fines for small things, dictating paint colors, even stealing HOA dues for personal vacations. My fight wasn't just about a cabin anymore. It had unmasked a tyrant who had terrorized the whole community for years. With Karen gone, the HOA board was dissolved, and a community council took its place, one that actually listened to the people. As for me, I didn't sell the cabin or wall myself off. Instead, I opened it up, hosting veterans, families in need of healing, and neighbors who needed a break from life's noise. My grandfather had always believed in helping others, and I finally understood why. This land was never just mine. It was a place of peace for anyone who needed it. And Karen? Last I heard, she's facing charges, not just for what she did to me, but for a long list of crimes uncovered after the trial. Funny how the Queen of Lakeside ended up with nothing but a record and a reputation in ruins. So here's what I learned. Never stay silent when you're being wronged. Stand up, speak out, and fight for what's right, even when the odds seem stacked against you. Because sometimes the quietest person has the loudest truth. If this story hit you in the heart, if you've ever stood up to someone who thought they were above the law, hit like, subscribe, and share this story. Let's make sure people like Karen never win again.